All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to On Deck. We are here with Coach Brandon Slay. What's going on, Brandon?
Hi, Ben. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you told me you got 4 kids. I have 3 kids. You said you have 4 kids at home?
4 kids is plenty, especially when they're 8, 6, 4, and then I had 3 girls. I finally, thank God, I had a little boy. He was 2, so now he's just destroying.
That sounds well. So I had 2 girls and then a boy, and our boy was so terrible at sleeping. You know, we were going to have a 4th, and this dude literally didn't sleep through the night for a year and a half. So that, you know, we still kind of want to, but we don't want to because if we have another one like him, I might go insane.
Yeah, well, 3's a lot, 4's a lot. It's just a lot.
When was your youngest born? What month?
He was born, actually, his birthday was the other day, April 23rd.
Okay. Oh, wow.
He turned 2 years old. Sawyer Slay.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I saw you post a picture on maybe Instagram or Twitter or something.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. I got a dumb question for you right off the bat before all the good ones. You ready for this?
Ready.
I just did a Mental Monday, and it was about, you know, we're on quarantine. We have no competitions going up. Doing something to test your own toughness. You know, I talked about I'm old and retired, so, you know, I'll try to stay in the steam room for a really, really long time and see how hot I can get it. I just had a couple of athletes. They ran a marathon just for the heck of it. I talked about Wayne Ballman. You know what this? Wayne Ballman told me he didn't pee till 3 p.m. one time to see how tough he was.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, to say the least. Is there anything you would recommend for people to go do to test their toughness to add on to my Mental Monday, or anything that you personally did at some point?
The last 2 days I don't know if you've ever tried to hang curtains or hang lights with your wife.
Yes.
Where they keep screwing, trying to screw things left. You know, no, babe, right, like a clock, go like clockwise. So yeah, hanging lights with your bride or curtains is always a challenge, and that will test your mental toughness for sure.
That's a good one. Okay, so I researched you fairly well. From what I could find, you know, growing up, there's not much about you growing up. I know that you made a cadet world team, I believe, in Greco, from what I can find. And you're from Texas, which wrestling is getting definitely more popular in Texas, but I don't think, you know, at least when I was in high school, wasn't necessarily a hotbed. And you're a couple years older than me. So how did you find wrestling? Was it a sibling or a dad or something that got you into it so strongly?
Yeah, my dad wrestled in high school, and he actually wrestled in college at the University of Alabama when SEC schools used to have wrestling. He played football for Bear Bryant. He was nose guard for Alabama, and then also wrestled. And I think he just hoped that his son, when I was 6 years old, would like wrestling too. So he took me to the local YMCA in downtown Amarillo, and that's where it all started. And back then, they just had an age group of 8 and under. So there's no novice, there's no first year wrestling with all the kids that were first years. It was a tough first 2 years. Like my first year, I was 0-20. I lost every single match.
Damn.
Got pinned most of the time. The only match I did win is because the guy didn't show up. Of course, so you get your hand raised by forfeit. But I didn't count that one. My grandmother counted that one, but I didn't count that one. But that was the genesis of my wrestling career. And then I think you start doing things for the 3rd year, the 4th year, the 5th year. Just like naturally, like you play guitar for 5 years. I mean, you're probably gonna strum it a little bit better. So things started getting a little better for me, and then thankfully, there was a wrestling coach named Henry Harmony in Amarillo who started a freestyle and Greco club called the Maverick Club.
Okay.
And so he had a lot of Greco experience, and so he got us started wrestling freestyle and Greco, arm throws, gut wrenches, all that, and then really encouraged me to go wrestle at nationals. And I went to the Cadet Nationals in Michigan my first year, and actually I won the whole tournament.
Really?
I won the tournament in Greco. Wow. Got 6th in freestyle, but won in Greco. And then they told me that, hey, you made the Cadet Greco World Team, and you get a chance to go overseas to Budapest, Hungary. And so I got a chance to go wrestle in Budapest and represent Team USA. Of course, that was the very first time I had the red, white, and blue on my back. And the Turk unfortunately won, so his Turkish national anthem was played. It was the first time they ever had an American flag behind me.
Yeah.
So every time I ever had a world medal. And that was, when people ask, when did you really start believing that you could be one of the best in the world? I would say it was when I was in 15 at Budapest, Hungary on my first cadet world team.
Wow. Yeah. Dang. So did you make multiple cadet world teams then, or was that you did?
I did. I got third in the world the first year in Greco. And then interestingly enough, next year I made the world team of freestyle and Greco. I won both styles.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And they gave me a choice to choose freestyle or Greco because you couldn't wrestle in both.
Okay.
Like Adam Kuhn did it not too long ago, but
yeah.
And back then you couldn't. There were two separate tournaments, and I chose Greco.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'd got third in the world the year before in Greco, and I just thought I was on a good Greco track.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I chose Greco, and then that year actually I got second in the world, so I won another world medal in Greco.
Wow.
And then the next year made the junior world team. And then I ended up getting fifth in the junior worlds that year. I didn't medal in the junior worlds, but
what was that? That was Greco also?
No, I chose freestyle. That's when I started to hear the conversations like, hey, do you want to wrestle in college? I'm like, yeah, I want to wrestle in college. Hey, you want to be an NCAA champion? Yeah, I want to be an NCAA champion. Well, you better start learning how to shoot, right? You better start learning how to penetrate and hit double legs and single legs. And so that's when I started kind of peeling off. And I always tell USA Wrestling that, that was a period of time if somebody in the Greco world would have grabbed me and really fostered that Greco into me, like who knows what path I would have taken. But if you don't do that with those Greco guys, who's gonna develop those guys? Well, clearly college coaches are gonna start recruiting them, freestyle coaches are gonna start pouring into them, and that's kind of that's what happened with me. And I definitely started taking more of the freestyle path. Though I've always loved Greco.
Yeah, and that you know what I get a lot of heat here in Wisconsin because they love Greco and. I promote freestyle wrestling because our goal, and I'm not ashamed of this, our goal is to send as many kids to college as possible. And to your point, well, college coaches don't really look at Greco success. They look at freestyle success. And so, the one thing I said is you love Greco, that's fine. But there's really only one option for college Greco wrestling, and that's Northern Michigan. So you have one choice, and that's the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Not a lot of people really want to live there. And so if that's what you want to do, that's fine, but understand the corner that you're painting yourself into, and so whether that's fair or not, that's kind of how I think about it.
Well, I just think growing up, though, in my opinion, it's really healthy to wrestle both styles.
Yeah.
If you're going to travel from Amarillo, Texas, and want to drive to Oklahoma or Kansas or Missouri to wrestle in the tournament,
might
as well in the summertime, you might as well get twice as many matches.
Yeah.
Right. You might as well come home wrestling 10 matches than just wrestling 5 matches, and clearly. If you can get really good at gut wrenching somebody in Greco, that's going to carry over to freestyle, which, for me, humbly, that was something that was a big, tool in my bag of tricks. And so I think there's a period of time where wrestling both styles is good. But then, after I got out of high school, I started focusing definitely more on the freestyle path. And then clearly, in many ways, you have to choose one. And so I chose freestyle.
Yeah. Okay. So the other day, you texted me. You brought up something that I didn't realize, and that was obviously I knew you chose University of Pennsylvania. I didn't realize, and I don't know how. I almost feel dumb when you said this, and I finally realized that Foxcatcher was that close to Philly. I thought in my head that it was like in the middle of the state, somewhere in the sticks. So, that's kind of what you always hear, what you always feel. And you sent me the screenshot of the map. But it's like, oh my God, that's like right in Philly, essentially.
Yeah, Foxcatcher was 12 miles away from Philly. So with traffic here and there, it would take us about 30 minutes. It was a 30-minute trip to drive from Penn's campus to get out there. And on my recruiting trip to Penn, that was definitely a big part of the allure of Penn to me. It's because on my recruiting trip, they take us out to Foxcatcher. One of the very first people I met was Dave Schultz.
Damn,
and I meet, Dan Shade, Valentin Jordanov, Ed Giese. There's just clearly some of the biggest names in the sport were in this room, and they're shaking my hand. And I'm thinking, okay, I get a chance to go to an Ivy League school. I wanted to major in business, so I got an award school of business. Oh, and by the way, I can also drive 12 miles out and train with Olympic champions and some of the best wrestlers in the world. Yeah. And so that whole package to me was really appealing. And, that whole environment for that period of time is a lot of people don't know that the University of Pennsylvania, we just had Olympic level wrestling around our program for 25 years. So it's not anything new for us.
And so was Roger Rainier was the head coach when you were recruited, correct?
He was. He actually took over the program when he was 23. He was the youngest he was the youngest college wrestling coach, D1 coach in the country. And,
wow.
He started growing that program. And clearly when he recruited me, he was young, and he really just, I would say, sold me on just this pioneering spirit of Penn Wrestling hadn't had an All-American since 1966.
Wow.
And he said, hey, you could be the first All-American over 33 years. And I just thought, other programs I was looking at, no disrespect through the Penn States or the Illinois or the University of Wisconsin's or the Lehighs, that, if I become an All-American there, it's like they pat me on the back and I'm another picture on the wall, and just like you did your job.
Yeah.
Where Penn, it was more about, we could potentially really grow something amazing here.
Mm-hmm.
I could get better at freestyle being around one of my idols, Dave Schultz, and actually wrestle with him and spend time with him on a frequent basis, and get an Ivy League education simultaneously. So It was kind of like it was an ultimate win-win-win for me.
Yeah, that does sound like a win-win-win for sure. So you get to University of Pennsylvania, and one of the other things you brought up was you took a gap year, which is something people frequently do with the Ivy Leagues because they don't allow redshirting. And you got to stay in Philly, and you got to train very regularly at Foxcatcher, which I got to imagine now you would probably be on the very younger end of people who had that experience, right, or almost the youngest end. And so like me, like I kind of hear stories about it, but I have no experience, and people my age don't. I have to imagine that was such an interesting experience just to be around that type of thing, because there really isn't that type of thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I was that third year, so I wrestled 2 years and qualified for the NCAA tournament, and I didn't become an All-American those 2 years. Mm-hmm. So it was just decided that it'd be important for me to take a gap year. And I was continuing to take actually classes at Penn because I was getting a dual degree, but I wasn't wrestling for Penn, and I wasn't traveling with them at all the tournaments. So just what a fantastic situation. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I got a chance to drive out to Foxcatcher and train with Dave and train with Brian Dolph. And Trevor Lewis was another guy who was actually 11-time U.S. Open place winner. That was my weight class. He was out there training. And then Valentin Jordanov, he would bring in these groups of Bulgarians that, they didn't speak English very well, but there was a chunk of them that were our size. So I'm wrestling with Bulgarians on those days. And again, just being in that environment, that Foxcatcher environment with those type of technicians was that was huge for me. And, clearly my next 2 years, I got second in the nation twice, and, won the University Nationals in freestyle. And so I look back on that year. I think that year was extremely important for my development.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So you come back, and then obviously your last 2 years of college, you had a lot more success, and you fulfill Roger's premise that you'd become the first All-American in, what was it? You said 30 years, 32 years?
33 years, yeah.
Wow. So, and then really after that, you guys kind of you, I guess, then kickstarted the success of the Penn wrestling program, right? Because then after that, it kind of all goes downhill, and there was a whole bunch of All-Americans, and that's kind of where I started following wrestling was, I would say, like 1999.
Yeah, so I look back on that, and there were some leaders that clearly believed in Penn and chose to go there that were leaders for me on the team, that I was just thankful to be like one brick in that house that they were building. Mm-hmm. But clearly, people needed to believe that you could actually go to Penn and be an All-American. Yeah. They needed to see proof that somebody that didn't do that 1966 that was standing right, that it was possible.
Yeah.
Cornell had proved that with David Hirsch, right? I watched him win an NCAA title when I was a freshman. Okay. So Cornell had proven that you could do this. Penn had yet to do that in a while. So when that happened, then my senior year I went back, and my junior year I lost to Mark Branch. My senior year I lost to Joe Williams in the finals. But then after I graduated, that next year they had 3 All-Americans.
Yeah.
That following year. And then Brett Modern he won the NCAA tournament in 2000. And then Matt Valenti chooses to go to Penn. He wins 2 NCAA championships. Yep. So, in that period of time, Coach Rain ended up coaching 17 All-Americans and 3 NCAA champions, right? And then clearly had a huge part of my Olympic success. So I think a lot of times it just takes somebody breaking through, just to show recruits, right, and show the world that you can come to Penn, you can come to Philadelphia, you can train in this environment where they do have Olympic level wrestling, and you can be one of the best wrestlers in the world. So I think that was just it was an important part of that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's actually talk about, you brought up Joe Williams. And I will tell you that this is where my real wrestling fandom, or me following the sport heavily, starts. Is I'm at the U.S. Open in the year 2000, and I watched you beat Joe Williams in the finals of the U.S. Open. And for me, again, I wasn't heavily knowledgeable at the time. I thought that was a big upset because I remember, I'd read that he beat you the year before in the NCAA finals, and obviously he won 3 titles. And then it's so funny. I was 15. I convinced my parents to send me to the Olympic trials in Dallas, Texas when I was 15 by myself, which is like, that's fantastic. I can't believe I did that. But I got to watch it. And so that's kind of, I don't want to say you're at home, but you're in Texas, and you beat him again to make the Olympic team.
So actually, we'll back up to that U.S. Open. The thing is, I think a lot of people think, Slave's 0-4 against Joe Williams, right? Going to that match, there's just, there's not a chance he can beat him. But a lot of times they don't understand the matches, right? They don't understand the detail. And along that process, like every match I wrestled him, it was always closer. Yeah. So in the NCAA finals, I think it was 7-4. And then in 1999 at the U.S. Open, a year after we were both graduated from college, we actually went to overtime. And he got in on a single leg on me. He didn't even get both legs, but they gave him 1 point. So he takes me down in overtime to win. And he goes on that year to get 4th in the world. So what am I thinking? I'm thinking I lost to the guy who's 4th in the world by 1 point in overtime, which is a subjective call. So I start thinking clearly, I'm like, I know I can beat this guy. In my belief, it's every time I wrestle him, it's worse for him. It's better for me as long as I have that attitude. So going in 2000, I was the 7th seed. He was the 1 seed. And I had to beat Steve Marinetti, who I'd never beat. Mm-hmm. He was the number 2 seed. I had to beat Sean Bourmet, who I'd never beat. He was number 3 seed. And then I had the number one seed in the finals. And so a big part of that, Ben, was, I know you're a student of the sport, it was really studying Joe and understanding every single time he took me down was his right hand to my left leg. Mm. All the matches I studied was always his right hand to my left leg. And I'm a right leg lead. So what I started realizing is every time I circled left, I was feeding my left leg into his right hand. Yeah. So I started having to realize even if I circle left, I need to keep a heavy right leg lead. So I circled right, I was right leg lead. But when you watch the match, I circled left, I was right leg lead. And you start noticing about 2 minutes of that match, like he gets frustrated and his shot is just not there anymore. Yeah. And then he starts kind of forcing some shots. And then that's when I could front headlock him and I got the 2 points. And then you could just sense he was kind of like flustered a little bit. And that's when, I snap posted him. He came out of his stance. I was able to get the 3-pointer. Yep. And it's clearly 5 points on the board. That was a good way to get a lead against him. And I was able to, I think it was 5-2 or 5-3 to finish that match. Yeah. And so he went on to say, like, I thought 95% chance that's who I was going to wrestle in Dallas.
Oh, you wrestled Brian Dolph, didn't you?
And Brian Dolph got Joe Williams put down. He gut wrenched him 3 times.
Ah, yes.
Yep, went up by 6 points. And he ends up beating Williams, I think, 6-2 or 6-3. So I had to wrestle my college assistant wrestling coach for 4 years at Penn, and he beat the dog out of me for most of that time. Uh-huh. And so here I am. I've got to wrestle one of my coaches, one of my best friends, one of my mentors, who happens to be, he's tough as nails. That's who I had to wrestle to make the Olympic team.
Oh, my gosh. I forgot that until you just said that. But wow. Yeah, because that big brother thing, that kind of sticks around for a little bit.
Well, yeah, and it wasn't until towards the end of my senior year that I started getting some good takedowns on him. Yeah. And able to fight back, where it was like kind of that plus minus and equal. We were getting closer to that equal, right? He'd always been the plus partner for me, making me better. But by my senior year, he began kind of becoming that equal partner. And I think moving out to the Olympic Training Center with Kevin Jackson, that whole year, Kevin Jackson added this outside ability to attack from the outside. Mm-hmm. I was getting really good at underhooks, controlling the tie. Dolph had worked on that with me in college. Yeah. But then I spent that year with Kevin Jackson at the OTC, and he started teaching me how to move the guy and attack from outside. And I think that was the big difference maker. If you watch both those matches, I double-leg Dolph from space, multiple times. That was a big part of it.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so then you go to the Olympics, and I think that if it's not for Rulon beating Karelin, which is the same exact year, you upsetting Satiev is a gigantic upset, but I think it slightly got overshadowed. But I'm going to bring you back to another match. So you talked about the plus, minus, and equal, which I've never heard anyone phrase it exactly that way. But I needed to find one of those when I was in college. I don't know if you know this. And so I did my research, and there was this guy named Plamen Paskalev, and he decided to go to college at Central Missouri. And so I ended up finding a way to get him to come over with me once or twice a week to train with me because he was so freaking good. That was who you wrestled. So they had pools in 2000. It was you, him, and Satiev, and he was actually, I believe, a world third or fourth place prior to that. Right?
Yeah, that guy was really good. And, going into Sydney, we had studied Bruce Burnett, Kevin Jackson. I'd studied video on about the top 10 guys. Mm-hmm. I think at the Olympics, there's not many guys in your bracket, actually.
Yeah.
I think there are only like 19 guys in the bracket. So he was one of the guys I studied. I realized for me to take him down, it was going to be hard for me to blow through him. He was really good at staying in a stance. He was hard to blow through. I was going to have to create angles.
Yeah.
So one of my main strategies with him was try to snap elbow pass and attack him at an angle versus straight ahead. Unfortunately, I snapped elbow past him and took him down. And then I got in a front headlock and knee tapped him, which was created another angle. And so that was study again for the Bulgarian was really important. And then clearly I beat the Bulgarian, Satiev beat the Bulgarian, and the stage was set for that pool finals. Only 3 people in it, right? Pool finals. And so whoever won between Satiev and I were, we were going to go on. And if you lost that match, you're out of the tournament.
That's so crazy they did it like that, wasn't it?
So, whoever won that match, you have a chance to be Olympic champion. If you don't win that match, you're up in the stands eating pretzels, with your family.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but they were random draw in the pools, right?
It's totally random draw. Just like it's random draw now.
Yeah.
But back then you would, instead of the whole digital thing, you would reach your hand down a bag, and it was the Olympics. So there were these really nice medallions. Had the Sydney Bridge on there, and you pulled the medallion out.
Uh-huh.
And my medallion was the number 2 medallion. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's it's so funny how you forget about the way things have changed. Like until I started thinking about you, I totally forgot about the pool bracketing system. It's like, that's so random.
So that made that match, that made that match. I had a lot of pressure to it, Ben, because you knew that I've been dreaming of being Olympic champion since I was 8 years old, and that's not going to happen unless I win this match.
Yeah.
And when it happens to be against a guy that I watched in 1996, 4 years earlier, dominate his way through the Olympics, beat Kenny Monday, who I had tons of respect for. He won the Worlds in 1995. I was in person, watched him, studying him in 96. And clearly he won the Worlds in 97, 98, 99. And he hadn't lost a match.
Yeah.
And so when you go into that match, you realize, like, this is in many ways it's kind of for all the marbles, because I believed I could beat Satiev, but also believed if I get past him, I really believed I could beat all the rest of the guys in the bracket.
Yeah.
But I was going to have to wrestle him essentially before I got to them.
Yeah. And so, on top of the not gold medal, but the thing that you don't even get any medal, right? You don't get to move on right now in today's system. It's random draw, but if you lose early and they go on, then obviously you could continue to wrestle and potentially get a medal. But in the old system, that wasn't the case at all. You got bumped.
Yeah, he probably would have. I beat him in that tournament. I make the finals. He probably would have come back and got third, right?
Yeah.
So he probably would have had another Olympic medal.
Yeah.
But because of the pool system back then, he won 3 golds and no medals in 2000.
Shut him out. There we go. Okay, so as obviously, so then you make the finals of the tournament, and you came up a little bit short in the finals against the German guy. Obviously we only have a 45-minute interview, so we can't go too deep into everything. But then, it turns out he tests positive, and you got elevated from the silver medal to the gold medal. I don't know what is that emotion. I don't know if you know this, but I got bumped up from 7th place to 6th place because someone tested positive. Not quite as dramatic.
This is seriously moving up the ladder big time.
Yeah. So, how does that all play in your emotions? I always wonder, I've never really sat down and talked at length with you. I always wondered, what you felt about that. Because obviously there's you get the ultimate prize. You don't get it in exactly the fashion, but that person essentially robbed you because, you guys all agreed to partake in a certain rule set. They went outside it, cheated, and so there's like they stole that opportunity. You know, I always wondered what the emotions of that were like.
Well, I mean, since you use the term emotions, I do have to say that those 3 days were, when you use the term emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
You know, I beat Satiev, and back then you could protest the match for $500. So of course they're going to protest the match.
Yeah.
So they go back there. Kevin Jackson tells me, "Hey Slay, get ready. You may have to wrestle Satiev in 45 more minutes."
Oh my gosh.
Now, why did I think that could happen? Because that just happened to my roommate, Kerry Kolak.
Yeah.
He just beat the Iranian. Iran protested, and he had to wrestle Iran again. Remember?
So crazy.
Iranian had nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? And so the Iranian beats Kerry Kolak, and then Ronnie gets beaten, carries out the tournament. So do I believe that they could overturn my match against Satiev? Of course I did. So I had to get myself mentally ready, thinking, okay, I took him down to double leg in the first 30 seconds. I gut wrenched him left, but he caught my wrist, right, and reversed me. So I start thinking about how am I going to prepare myself to beat him the next time. And so emotionally, I'm about to have to wrestle the guy again. Kevin comes back in and says, "Hey, you won the protest. You're good." So have the guy from Kazakhstan, who actually got second in the Olympics in 2004. The guy was really good, Laliev.
Oh, yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, he was really good. Left leg lead, really tough to score on. And then I had the guy from Turkey, Adam Barakat, who had beat Joe Williams the year before, 99, to get the bronze in the world. And so I beat Barakat. Kevin Jackson comes up and says, "Hey, by the way, Turkey's protesting your match. You might not make the Olympic finals."
What?
Have seen it happen before in tournaments. Right?
I didn't realize the protests happened that often. I guess
it happened after every Satiev match, Turkish match. I'm sitting back there thinking, okay, I thought I was in the Olympic finals. Now there's a chance I have to wrestle the Turk again to make the Olympic finals. So then that's just important to note. Use the term emotion.
Yeah.
Going to the finals against Alexander Leopold, because I would tell you that was if you just said who's the most confident, who are you the most confident against any guy in that bracket?
Yeah.
Like maybe besides the guy from Australia or something that was in there, right?
Yeah.
I was the most confident against Leopold.
Really?
I just thought that I didn't see him beating me.
The styles matched up, or what is that? Why?
Matchup, I didn't see him taking me down.
Mm-hmm.
I see him. He always got tired towards the end. If we had to go a 9-minute match, I really thought I was going to beat him. That's how Satiev beat him a lot. He'd wear him down towards the end.
Yeah.
I just didn't see him taking me down. I didn't see how he was going to score points on me out of all the matches I'd watched. And here we go. You know, we got in a situation where he was trying to turn me and actually escaped, and I re-attacked him. And back then, you're supposed to give 1 point for that. The main ref gives 1 point. It didn't get confirmed. That would have been a ginormous point.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have gone to the clinch, right? But it's 0-0. We go into the clinch, right? He's supposed to get locked first. He goes to pump fake me. If it's fun if anybody has 6 or 7 minutes, go back and watch this. He pump fakes me. Well, when you pump fake a guy, I kind of moved.
Yeah.
Right? He pump fakes me again. He doesn't just get the lock. He's pump faking me. I move a little bit. Finally, he gets locked. I get locked. We're there for 5 seconds. We could have started any period of time. The ref looks around. Caution.
Oh, my God.
Gives him 2 points.
Ah.
Now I have to go down with a caution.
Yeah.
He's trying to turn me on top. I grab his hand. As I pull his hand away, I mean, I've squeezed your hand.
Yeah.
I've sparred before, and you never yelled out in like a little girl in fear. It's his hand. He starts going, ah. The ref comes down, slaps my hand, gets me another caution, Ben.
What?
Gives me another point.
Oh, I forgot about the second one. Oh, my gosh.
I just got the second caution. Where do I have to go?
Down again. Yeah.
So I'm down there for 40 seconds after that. I'm down 3-0. And remember how many points you had to have to end the match in regulation?
Yeah,
then?
3.
3. They were just given to him. He didn't. Remember I said I didn't think he could take me down? I didn't think he could take me down.
Yeah.
But he has 3 points. And you can tell maybe I'm just a skosh passionate about this.
Yeah.
So, there's about a minute left. I'm down 3-0. And, of course, I'm throwing some Hail Marys that I never would have thrown.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm behind. I'm trying to do things I normally wouldn't have done. I get shot, forced underneath. He does block my arm. That is the only point he scores on me on a forced shot. Mm-hmm. And so he beats me 4-0. And, you ask, how does that bother me when he stole that from me because he took steroids? And I would say I don't think that way at all. I don't think he beat me because he was on steroids.
Yeah. Well,
I think,
in all fairness, it didn't hurt him probably.
I don't think drugs had anything to do with the points he scored on me, I think if you would have put me in a weight room against him, I was stronger than him in every exercise you could choose in the weight room, even if he was on Nandrolone about 20 times. Yeah. So I don't think he beat me because of drugs. I think he did cheat.
Yeah.
I think the tough thing for me was that I don't feel like we really got a chance to wrestle.
Yeah.
And somebody that just loves fair competition, and I want to. That's the Olympic finals. It's not like the local county tournament in Wisconsin or Texas, right?
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing for me is I didn't feel like I really got a chance to wrestle, and to get the silver medal that night in that environment when it happened that way.
Yeah.
I don't get bitter about the drugs, actually.
Really?
He chose to do that. I think I'm more bitter about just how the match got called, how it went down. I've never been called for those things my whole entire life. Wrestling career. They happened the most important match of my life. And so that was the challenge.
Yeah. Huh. So, I mean, that makes me think, I didn't think we were going to go here, but who knows? We're going to go there anyways. It makes me think of the Kerry Collette film. Bruce Burnett, one of the things that he says, but it really bugs me. He says, Kerry fell on the sword for all of us. And for me, that means that, Kerry would have taken that and would have stopped the UWW/FILA from all the rampant cheating that has been going on for years and years and years, but it didn't, right? And there was a whole bunch of circumstances. Obviously, we've had some stuff fairly recently. And so this is probably one of the things that drives me most crazy about freestyle wrestling is we are under the thumb, essentially, of this governing body, which has proved to be, and they probably, I always worry about going overseas because they might poison my food or something because I say too many bad things about them. They're inept, they're corrupt, and, to your point, there's no, I don't want to say for sure, but there's no saying that these referees didn't take bribes to make the match go a certain direction. That's definitely within the realm of possibilities. Does that bug you to the level it bugs me?
Well, so here's what happens when you're an athlete and you've been dreaming of wrestling Olympics your whole life, right? Yeah. And going into those matches. Here's what I'm not thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking, hey, Garrett Lowney just beat a Russian that he probably, that shocked the world by beating a Russian. He had a big one. Here's what I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking, hey, Rulon just beat Karelin and stopped him from winning 4 golds in a row. Here's what I'm not thinking. Matt Lindland makes the finals. That I'm not thinking that the United States is really having a lot of success in the Sydney Olympics. Mm-hmm. Oh, and by the way, then you just beat Satie 2.
Yeah.
And you're on your path to go get a gold medal, another gold medal for Team USA. Like, I don't think about that in my head.
Yeah.
Going into the finals, and nor should I really, right?
Yeah, I agreed.
Have that thought in my brain.
No,
I didn't. But then after it's over, you have some people kind of explain that to you and just go, Brandon. I mean, just maybe think about this a little bit.
Yeah,
Team USA was having a lot of success that games.
Yeah,
Sammy Henson got the silver, Terry Brands got the bronze, Lincoln McElroy got the bronze. Mm-hmm. I end up eventually getting the gold medal. Rulon gets the gold. Garrett Lowney. I mean. Matt Lindland gets the silver. We were winning a lot of medals.
Yeah.
And that's what, and Kerry McCoy, who beat Steve Neal, who's the reigning world champion, I mean, I really thought he was favored to potentially medal or win the gold. So, we were on track to do some damage at that games for Team USA, and we did.
Yeah. But
I also think some of that, our ability to have even more success was, I'll just say, impacted.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I always think okay, I'm gonna be done with the UWW because I could go off on them for a while. Okay, so my memory is blank. So after 2000, obviously you had the Olympics, and then it appears that you got out of wrestling because I was trying to research that 2000, obviously 2009. You come back and you start coaching, and now since 2009 you've been coaching. Where did you? Obviously you got a Wharton business degree, so maybe.
After 2000, I would say if I would have kept the silver medal, that wouldn't have changed. I think maybe my hunger and desire to keep wrestling, to try to be Olympic champ, maybe that would have continued to be there. Uh-huh. But, when they have the new ceremony on the Today Show in New York City and they put the gold medal around my neck and say you will forever be Olympic champion and you sing the Star Spangled Banner and all that happens, then you start thinking, do I want to wrestle for another 4 years? Did I go to Penn? Did I go to the Wharton School of Business to wrestle, for 3 Olympic quads? And the answer is no, right?
Yeah, of course not.
For that. So that's when, my life changed a lot. I wasn't married then. I had no kids. I had the opportunity back then. I really felt like to be a really, hopefully, positive influence on the world. I spoke to about 75 schools in Amarillo, Texas, every school in Amarillo for free. That was my gift back to the city that really poured a lot into me. I was traveling all around the country, doing wrestling clinics when you have the time to do that, 30, 40 weekends a year before you're married with kids, right?
Yeah, for real.
So I did that for a couple years, and then, I was really interested in theology, so I chose to move to Dallas, and I got my graduate degree from Dallas Theological Seminary. So there's a lot of personal, I think, seeking I was doing instead of believing what everybody had told me. It's like, hey, go research yourself. And then I was about to be 30, Ben, and I thought I should probably get a job like most guys do, right? So I was in Dallas. I got a job working in commercial real estate. So we were buying, selling buildings. I was representing landlords on their leases, tenants on their leases. So I did that for almost 5 years. And that's when, interestingly enough, Zeke Jones called me, who had been at Penn. He was the Penn coach at the time. He calls and says, hey, I don't know if you know, but I just got the new job as the national coach. Have you ever considered getting back involved in wrestling? And that's when I had been considering it. And that's when I chose to – I've been dating my girlfriend, my fiance at the time, Tina, and we decided to get engaged. And we got married and moved to Colorado Springs. And like you said, I've been coaching pretty much full-time since early 2009.
Yeah. And that's so 2009, you take the job at the Olympic Training Center. And – I guess one thing I want to tie something else in that you said earlier is that, you said you went to Penn and they just needed someone to do it, and then everyone could start believing. And obviously I had that experience at Missouri. And I almost feel that way. And I don't know if it's Jordan Burroughs or who you're going to say, but I almost feel that way. There was this period of American wrestling, which I was involved in, where we weren't having a lot of success. Really, I would say 2004, Burroughs' first international stuff is 2011. And now, obviously, there's a whole lot more emphasis on the cadet world teams, on the junior world teams, even on U23. And kind of across the board, we're having, I would say, more success than we ever had in the history of the United States wrestling. Is it Jordan? Is it the Mark and the Kyle who, came through the Olympic Training Center? Or, what do you think has pushed us to that level?
I think it's a combination of all those things. I think a big part of it, Zeke was the national coach, and then Bill Zadok and I, we were both assistant national coaches. So at the beginning, Bill was the development coach, and I was more of the senior level coach with Zeke for a period of time until Bruce came along, and then we'll talk about how we flipped. Yeah. But when we first come on, when I walked in the room at the Olympic Training Center, there was only two guys in the room, Mike Tamalo and Derek Moore, and they weren't even the same size, right? So they couldn't even train with each other. So I tried to grow the program at the OTC, the resident program, and it seemed like every 3 or 4 months they kept cutting my beds. I had less beds, right? So I'm trying to grow this thing, and they're saying, but you're going from 12 beds to 10 beds, 10 beds to 8 beds. And so finally, Zeke and Bill and I have to sit down and say, look, as much as I would like to coach our guys at the Olympic Training Center, because that's what I went through with Kevin Jackson. And, we had some Les Gutches and Kevin Jackson and Kerry Bowmans. I mean, we had some great guys come through there. We had to come to the realization that we're not going to be able to coach Team USA at the OTC. So this is this is something people miss a lot. And so you start saying, well, so how are we going to coach Team USA? Yeah. Well, what do you need to coach, guys? Well, we need a wrestling room and we need partners. Where do wrestling rooms and partners already exist that you don't have to pay for, right? And it's like ding, 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 right? Yeah, colleges. So that's when, and I give Zeke a lot of credit for this. He started using this term regional training centers, right? And so then started sharing with programs that you could start showing 501c3 nonprofit. You'd raise your own money from mostly probably alumni from your school. They would pump the money to the nonprofit. You would use that nonprofit to pay these senior level wrestlers to train for you, and they wouldn't have to be assistant coaches. They'd be full-time professional wrestlers, professional wrestlers.
Because that had never happened before.
Never happened before. You had Sunkiss, right? Hawkeye Club, Foxcatcher. Yeah. Right? You had little pockets of that, which I would say those were regional training centers.
Yeah, sure.
But you didn't have 50 of them. You didn't have 50 of them, right? So, Penn State, I give them a lot of credit. Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, they got on the board, I think, first to start their program and started growing it. And then Ohio State got started. And then, of course, now we're at a place, I think we have over 50 of them that exist.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably about 10 to 15 that are robust, highly funded RTCs. The rest of them just have their certificate on the wall.
Yeah.
But that period of time was really important because you started seeing the advent of professional wrestlers that they didn't have to coach. All they had to focus on was wrestling.
Yeah.
So that started taking off. But here's the tricky thing. In 2010, I don't know if you remember this, we got 7th in the world as a team in 2009 in Denmark. And then with this whole RTC thing we're rolling out, we went into Moscow and we didn't win a medal.
Oh, yes.
We finished we went medalists. I think it was the worst performance we'd had since 1975.
Yeah.
Right? And so people are like, wow, you guys really know what you're doing with this whole RTC thing, right? You got this is not going well. But I think that was a key thing, just sticking to your guns.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't have success in the first year doesn't mean it wasn't going to work. And then clearly you talked about the Jordan Burroughs. That started the next year.
Yes.
Thankfully Jordan comes along and he wins the Worlds, but Jake Varner got 3rd, right? Tervel, he lost in that medal match, but Nick Simmons lost in the medal match.
Yep.
But we still got 3rd in the world, Ben, as a team.
Yeah.
So you went from 8th to no medals to 3rd in the world. And I think after that period of time, RTCs really started to grow and expand. More money started coming in to fund the guys. And then after that, 2012, if you take Tervel's bronze medal that he won because the guy tested positive, if you calculate those points, we were the best team on the planet in 2012. We would have won the Olympics as a team, Team USA. So we went from no medals to 3rd in the world to 2012 based on the point count. We were the best team in the world. And so that just started creating a lot of momentum. And then, in 2014, Zeke left and Bruce Burnett got the job. And he kind of came and said, hey, Brandon, I want to move you to the national development role. And I want you to start really growing the cadets and juniors. And he moved Bill into more of the senior role. And that's when, we just started bringing in all these young guys. Mark Hall spent 4 or 5 summers with us at the OTC. Kyle Snyder came out to train with us. Yanni Diakomahalis, Gable Stevenson, just had this flood of cadets, Spencer Lee, cadets and juniors that are 15, 16 years old training with 25-year-old Olympians. So then you start seeing these cadets and juniors, just the success level spikes. And then, I say it humbly, but I think during those 2014, 2015, 2016, those 3 years, I think we had 29 world medals.
Damn. Yeah.
We had 7 golds. I think, at 29 world medals.
Yeah. Hey, so we're running out of time. What do you say we pick up here at some later point in time? If it's next week, it's next week. If it's a month. But I think we've kind of because I'm very curious about the development of Mark Hall, Kyle Snyder, a bunch of guys you mentioned, and then obviously we could talk about your shift back into the Penn RTC, which is now it's you say robust. I would say it's one of the most robust. Does that sound good?
That sounds great. This time flew by, so I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks for your time.
All right, appreciate it, Brandon. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Take care, Ben.